Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to give you guys an update of my Floribunda Rose here. As you can see, it's in full bloom again, it's doing really well. I gave you a previous video, I think a couple of months ago, showing it in full bloom. This time it's bloomed quite differently. Interestingly, this time it's all on one stem, so this one stem actually has 8 blooms on it. You can see this is the oldest one here because it's quite a pale, kind of almost white colour. It was originally yellow as like these. What happens with this variety is it starts off very dark, almost orange like this. Some of the youngest shoots even have slight red tinges to the petals, and then they go to they fade basically in the sunshine to a much paler yellow, and then eventually almost a white colour. So previously this plant actually had about 4 or 5 stems here, and they all flowered individually. I deadheaded them all. This one has actually started to produce a new bloom, so that'll be flowering in a week or two. And I was expecting it to produce, all of the shoots to produce little blooms like this, but what happened is it started to grow a shoot from right down the bottom. So you can see how low down this one's grown from. At first I thought it might be a sucker, because if you get very low shoots, and this was also a very vigorous shoot, and often if it's a very vigorous shoot it could be a sucker from the rootstock. But fortunately I looked at the leaves, and the leaves look very similar, so I presumed it was going to be the same plant. It wasn't a sucker. And as it's flowered, it's just proven itself that it is part of the actual cultivated rose, and it's not a wild sucker that's coming up, because the roses are exactly the same size and colour as they normally are, and they still have that fantastic fragrance that the Arthur Bell Rose has. So all I need to do with this one is deadhead it at the moment, because this one, once the Arthur Bell Rose goes white, it needs deadheading. So I'll just cut that one off there, and you'll be able to see a bit more of the plant. So the Floribunda Roses, as I say, they seem to vary a bit in how they flower. So if they flower on if they have one flower on an individual shoot, such as this one here, you would just cut that flower off back at the shoot 2 or 3 leaves further down, and that would encourage a couple more flowers to come. But when it's a big inflorescence like this one here, you can see this shoot, as it grew up, it's actually produced 8 roses on it. So you can see there's 3 down there, another 3 there, a little one here, and then there was that extra one as well, so 8 in total. What you do with this is you just cut them off individually as they fade over. They tend to not all produce them at the same time, and this was quite good, because a lot of Floribunda roses, they'll do this, and then you'll get one rose that's like as the one you just saw, that's gone over, another rose that's in full bloom, some that's in small buds, and because of that it does quite good continuous blooming for several weeks. Last month, as I say, it seemed to bloom all at the same time on individual stems, which is, I find, a little bit unusual for Floribunda Rose. Anyway, this is what I think is more usual for them. As you can see, it's got all these stems, so you cut them off individually, and once the last one's finished on that stem, I'll cut this back quite hard. As you can see, it's a much taller stem than the rest of the plant. You can see the other stems are only about this height, and this one's more than double the height. So I'll cut this one down hard to a similar level of these. But you can see how well it's been doing this year. It's got fantastic glossy green leaves. There's not a single bit of black spot anywhere. So last year when they gave it a hard prune for winter, it did have quite a lot of black spot on the leaves, so I cut it really hard, cut out any of the material that was infected. It's obviously done the trick, because you can see there's not any black spot at all. Really healthy leaves. I haven't put any fungicide on this or anything like that, and it's continued doing well. The only thing I have put on is SB Plant Invigorator, which can reduce the chance of fungus, but it's not a fungicide, so all it does is help reduce the chance of it coming. Whatever the reason, it's done well this year. No black spot, no powdery mildew, but it is still July, even though it's the very end of July now. Come August, September, that's when the black spot and the mildews become at the worst. So I'll wait and see how it does, because that's when I expect it to get some powdery mildew or black spot. But as I said before, the Arthur Bell Rose is a really good one, and generally doesn't get affected by black spot or anything like that, or any kind of fungal diseases, so it should do quite well for me. And even when I cut these off, I think it will still do another bloom, probably in September, and if I'm lucky it might even do another bloom November time, summertime like that, because I find with roses they really just keep flowering all year. As long as it's not too cold, they'll keep going. In the last few autumns we've had, they've been surprisingly warm, so I've seen roses flowering right up into December, so this year I might be lucky again. But anyway, that's all for now. I'll give you guys an update when it's probably, these have died back and it's started to grow some new blooms. But for now, that's the Floribunda Rose, the Arthur Bell variety, and it's doing really well for me again.